Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, the Minister, Jonathan Simmons. We thank God for all those of you who have decided to tune in to join us here on our Saturday Sports Update. Yep, as you know, each and every Saturday morning, 10 a.m., we bring you what's happening in and around Metro Atlanta in the world of sports and sometimes even beyond. And of course, this weekend is all about football, and more football. Big weekend. We want to call this championship weekend, especially here in Atlanta. Metro Atlanta is hopping and buzzing. Georgia is a hotspot for high school football and also for college football. I like to call it the conundrum of sports in the South. And what I mean by that is right down in the middle of downtown Atlanta, right near the CNN building, the Omni Hotel, and the Georgia World Congress Center, we have two of the biggest and best sports facilities in all of the land. I'm talking about Mercedes-Benz Stadium and right across the street from it, State Farm Arena. Now, those two teams host the Atlanta Hawks and Atlanta Falcons, but this weekend at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the script is flipped, and it is part of championship weekend for college football. The Georgia Bulldogs, two-time defending national champions, will take on their arch rival, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Crimson Tide slipped their way in after a spectacular 4th down and 31 conversion in the final seconds of the game against their arch rival, the Auburn Tigers, to pull out that victory and send them back again to the SEC championship. And of course, as you guys know, the winner of that game usually goes on to the college football playoffs. Now, when I say usually, every now and then you have a situation, and you might have one this weekend if, in fact, the Crimson Tide upset the number one and undefeated, I should say the number one ranked and undefeated Georgia Bulldogs. If the Crimson Tide win, it's going to really put the college football playoff committee in a bit of a problem, especially if a couple of the other undefeated teams also win their title as well. What shall we do? So, for example, let me just break it down for you. So, say, for example, the Washington Huskies, who have been in the top 4 for most of the year, if they win, they would have an undefeated season. Likewise, if Florida State knocks off Louisville, they too would have an undefeated season. Michigan, if they beat Iowa, which is very much expected, they would have an undefeated season. And then the Bulldogs, who have been undefeated all year long, and also the two-time defending national championship, will find themselves with one loss, along with the Alabama Crimson Tide, who would then be able to boast a win over the number one team in the country. Now you say, pray tell, preacher, what would happen? Well, the question is, who do you want to keep out? Do you want to keep out Florida State from the ACC? Or, hey, let's throw another monkey wrench into this situation. What, in fact, if the Texas Longhorns knock off the Oklahoma State Cowboys? Now you have a situation where Texas would only have one loss, and in a head-to-head meeting against Alabama, they would say, we have a victory. So now who do you keep out? Who do you keep in? Do you kick out the number one team in the country? At least they had been for the whole year. Do you get rid of the Bulldogs? Do you deny them an opportunity to defend their championship and to do something that no other team has done in the modern era? That is, win not one, not two, but 3 consecutive national championships if they lose to Alabama? What do you think? I'd love to get your comments. Put it in our social media. What do you think about this? The Bulldogs being able to continue to go on into the college football championship playoffs if, in fact, they lose. Now, of course, they win. It's a moot point. Bulldogs obviously are in if they win. No question about it. And that would be it. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting showdown and throwdown as we move into the championship weekend. And this is the cool thing about college football. And I think to some degree, I know a lot of people say, well, it'd be great if they had, the 12-team playoff this year. I don't know about that. I personally think one of the things that has been really the big selling point for college football is that the second half of the season, in essence, every game is a playoff game because you only have 4 teams. So every single week you have a battle, basically an elimination battle. Now, when you talk about having 12 teams, maybe not so much. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, I know a lot of people are saying, well, Minister, look, at the end of the day, just think about this. You have, like you said, the opportunity for 12 teams to get in there, and we wouldn't be having this argument right now. But like I said, I think 12 is too many. I think really the magic number is 8. No bye, just get right in here. 1 against 8. 2 against 7, 3 against 5, 3 against 6 and 4 against 5, and then you go right into your championship round from there. So to me personally, I think it's too many teams, but no question, 4 might be not enough. But you don't have to worry about college football fans. Next year, you will see it. All right, so we're going to talk some more college football in just a minute, but I also want to give a big shout out here to another championship weekend that was going on in high school football right here in the Atlanta metro area. It was the semifinals for all of the multiple divisions in high school football. And here in Atlanta, we have, for the public school, we have 7 different levels of school population. We go from A to 7A, and then we also have a couple levels for private schools as well. So for us, because our station, the legendary WIGO 1570, and our Roku broadcaster, the Phoenix Entertainment Group, was actually based in the same studio. For us, the South Side has always been important because we are in Clayton County, which is literally about 15 minutes south of downtown Atlanta. And so anything that kind of is below I-20, and that's kind of the demarcation zone here, anything that's below I-20 and that is south of downtown Atlanta, we consider that South Metro. So I want to give a report and a shout out to say not 1, not 2, but 4 Southside teams are now heading to Atlanta next week to play in the finals of their respective class ratings. First of all, right down the road from us in Henry County, big shout out to Stockbridge. The guys in the orange and green, rocking the same colors as the U from the University of Miami. They have punched their ticket to go to the finals. I believe it's for the first time for Stockbridge High School. They've had some great teams over there, but I think this is the first time they're heading to Mercedes-Benz. If I'm wrong, someone please correct me, to play in the finals. Number 2, the Creekside Indians. This is a team that has been consistently over the last 20 years one of the best teams in the state. They already boast, I think, 2 state titles already, and they have had multiple professional players that have ended up from Creekside High School, graduated from Creekside High School. One of them went on to play with the Kansas City Chiefs, but they have a whole host of guys that have played there. And the guy I'm talking about is Eric Berry, an all-pro safety who retired a few years ago, had a great story, actually suffered from cancer, and then was able to bounce back and play another couple of years in the league. Also nearby us, up the road in DeKalb County, but again, south of I-20, Cedar Grove makes their 3rd consecutive appearance into the finals. They have won it twice before, and last year lost on a very controversial touchdown call by the opposing team. And Woodward Academy, another team, private school, located in College Park, Georgia, a team that has, again, traditionally been always in the mix, find themselves also battling for a state championship themselves. All of these teams will be heading to play where the Falcons play their games, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That is where they host the finals for all of the classes. It's a 2-day extravaganza. Friday nights and then all day Saturday. Teams coming from all over the state to see who will win the state title. Let's go to social media here and take a peek. Sully, he says, why aren't you in Village Burger at Johns Creek? Well, that's a good question. The reason why is because our title sponsor for high school football, Allen Vigil Ford, is actually my full-time employer, and that's where we are right now, broadcasting live from the studios. I should say my desk studio here at Allen Vigil Ford, but we will be out there the next time I think that the Falcons have an away game. I think that's the game plan, to go out to visit our guys at Village Burger in Johns Creek. So we'll make the announcement officially, and then we'll ask you guys to come on out and support us. And we're going to do some stuff. We're going to do some giveaways. We'll have some prizes. And also we're going to do some, we'll make an opportunity that any of our sponsors that get involved will also be able to, we'll give a portion of any sponsorship dollars back to some of these schools. So please come on out and join us. Check us out. And Sully said, that's no excuse. Well, you can talk to Mr. Vigil. So, because we cannot be in 2 places at one time. As good as I am, we can only be in one place at one time. But again, Sully, appreciate your support of this program. Sully has been a longtime supporter of the Real Talk Sports Show, and we appreciate him and all of you that check us out. Especially, hey, I want to give you a shout out to those of you who watch us here on the replay. Those of you watching the archive, some of you guys can't watch us live. You say, hey, man, I got to check you out later. I appreciate you so much for tuning in to us after the fact. Hopefully, it marinates very well what we talk about here on the show. But again, a big shout out to the 4 teams from the South Side, South Metro. Jones, excuse me, not Jones, that's one of our favorite schools. Stockbridge Tigers are heading out from Henry County. Representing, I would say, South Fulton County will be the Woodward Academy. Also from South Fulton, Creekside Indians. And from DeKalb County, South DeKalb County, Cedar Grove High School, representing South DeKalb. So again, big shout out to all the schools of the South Side for their making their appearance in the state championship finals that will be held again at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. You guys can go on. I believe the place to get the tickets is ghsa.com. I believe that says. If it's not it, go into Google, blah, blah. I'll be able to speak English eventually. Go into Google, put in GHSA, and that is the Georgia High School Association. And they will be able to get you a link to get tickets to that. Certainly go down and support these kids. It's a great thing to see these young people be able to go out and to, and some of them, this will be the last time they set foot on a football field. For some of them, they'll go on and play college football. But the bottom line is they will have an opportunity to do something that is always great for these big schools out of Texas and Georgia, and even to some degree in Florida. Most of these high schools get a chance to play in the stadiums that the pros play in. And many of these young men literally get a chance to play in stadiums that they later will go on to play. We have multiple Falcons that actually started their career right here in Georgia High School. Some of them played on that turf that they're now playing on in the pros. So again, go out there and support the kids. You think in today's time, how much crazy stuff goes on in and around with our young people. So if you have the opportunity, go out and support them. Give them an attaboy. It doesn't cost that much to go out there and do this. You get a chance to see Mercedes-Benz Stadium up close and personal. Many of you, like myself, find it to be, quite an expense to go down and catch a Falcons game. So if you want to see the stadium, it is a spectacular stadium. It's one of the best in the world. You go in there, it is phenomenal what they have. And to go and support the kids, like I said, a lot of that money goes back in to the Georgia High School Sports Association to help support high school sports around Georgia. So again, go down there, especially off on the South Side. To be able to boast 4 teams, from South Metro Atlanta going out there to play in the big stadium, it is really kudos and thanks to them. Let me see if I can get some information about what kind of were the keys for some of these games. We're going to talk a little bit about Cedar Grove, because like I said, Cedar Grove is a team that really has kind of snuck in to the consciousness. They were really more known for basketball, I would think, more so than football. But the number 2 team in their region, which is 3A, they had a game for the ages, 49-42 victory over Calvary Day to get that win. It was 21-14 at the half, and then both teams put on a scoring barrage, scoring 70 points between them in the second half. The final was 49-42. Cedar Grove actually had a 49-35 lead late, to the credit of Calvary Day, who's the number 2 team in Region 3A. They battled back, scored a touchdown, and had it not been for a recovery of the onside kick, we might still be playing. But again, shout out to Cedar Grove and their big win, heading back to the finals again, hopefully be able to avenge their controversial loss last year, which would have put them into the record books for teams out of that South DeKalb High School. So again, guys, like I said, great stuff going on there. And there's great stuff going on here at Allen Vigil Ford in Lincoln. As a matter of fact, we're going to take a break so you can hear more about the store and who we are and what we are. Stay tuned for more of the Real Talk Sports Show. We'll be back in just a moment.
Are you in the market for a new vehicle? Well, check out Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln in Morrow, Georgia. We have one of the largest inventories in our area for both new and pre-owned vehicles, so we're sure to have something for everyone. Family owned and operated since 1982, customer satisfaction is our #1 priority. Come see our full lineup of vehicles and find the one that best fits you. Give us a call today, 678-726-5739, or shop us 24/7 online at allenvigilford.net.
Coming up next, it's the Real Talk Sports Show, bringing you great sports talk with perspective. Now, here's our host, Jonathan Simmons.
All right, guys, we're back here again, broadcasting to you live on our Saturday sports update. And as you know, we do each and every week right here from the offices of our title sponsor for high school football, which is Allen Vigil Ford and Lincoln. Please come on down and check us out. We got great stuff going on here. I wanted to give you guys a kind of an update. A lot of you probably have been looking for a vehicle during this kind of post-pandemic age, and you've come out there and oh my gosh, man, the prices and there was no rebates. Breaking news, boys and girls, to end the year, Ford Motor Company and along with Allen Vigil Ford has released the Huns. We got all the things that you were used to getting before the pandemic. Number one, we now have discounting. That's right. You can buy your car now at a discount from the original sticker price. How cool is that? Number two, special financing is back. Some vehicles have financing as low as 1.9% for qualified buyers. And last but not least, rebates are back. So if you don't have a huge down payment, there are rebates available in some cases as much as $4,000. What? That's right, $4,000. So if you want to get a new car, this is your time. Maybe you want to get yourself a Christmas present for yourself or for a significant other. Well, here is your time to do it. You know what to do. Give me a call, 678-364-3979. That is my office number here at Allen Vigil Ford. Matter of fact, I'm going to put it up on social media right now so you can call me up and hit me up, and I'll be more than happy to, if you need a vehicle for yourself, need a vehicle for a family member, or the other thing is I specialize in B2B sales. What that means is selling to businesses. So if you're a small business, a lot of you may or may not know, but there are huge opportunities for you to get a tax write-off, especially if you're getting a truck or a larger SUV. You might be able to write that whole thing off, bam. And also, we have electric vehicles. We have the Ford F-150 Lightning. We have the Ford E-Transit, and we have the sleek and slick Ford Mach-E. All those vehicles can qualify you for a tax incentive up to $7,500 per vehicle. Tax credit. How about that? So call now. Call me at work. That's why you call me now because I'm on the air. But call call at work, 678 364-3979. Again, I put up on the screen for those of you who are watching us. And again, we appreciate always those who listen to us on the legendary WIGO 1570. But call 678-364-3979 if you want more information or you want to get your best deal on a vehicle. Let's go back to social media. Shelly says, nice. Yeah, it is nice. Like I said, again, the post-pandemic made it tough for so many people to get a vehicle. There were really not a lot of help because we couldn't get vehicles. But now, no problem, boys and girls. The help is not just on the way, it's here. So if you need a vehicle, like I said, for yourself, for a family member, hit us up. Call me, 678-364-3979. And whatever you may need in a motor vehicle. So please, ma'am, please, sir, go ahead and do that and we'll hook you up. And Sully says already, oh, sucky ducky, we back in this. And all of you are back in this. Again, big shout out for those of you watching us on the replay or those who you are listening, because we now have the Real Talk Sports podcast on YouTube. So if you guys want to listen, you say, I just want to take it in my car, or I can't watch you, or you say, Minister, you're not as slick and beautiful as the Queen, and you're not as fit as Tyrone Poole, so I just don't listen. I don't mind. I don't care. Just check us out again anywhere on social media. You can now find our podcast on the YouTube podcast channel that they have available on YouTube. All right, let's shift gears here and talk before we get back into football. Talk a little basketball. The Atlanta Hawks, a team that drives me crazy. This team drives me absolutely bananas. Love our guy, Trey, good guy, balls out. He's to some degree done what we've asked him to do since he's been here. He's made Atlanta, a team to be talked about and occasionally reckoned with, as we saw a couple of years ago when he took them to the Eastern Conference Finals. And really, had it not been for him getting banged up and being injured, we don't know how far the Hawks would have been able to go. They might have been able to go to the NBA Finals. But all that being said, this year, And really, since that year, we've not been able to recapture that energy and that skill set that we've seen from the Hawks. Now, to Trae Young's credit, after really kind of been in kind of, let's say, to some degree, a slump in terms of his scoring, in terms of his shooting accuracy, in these last 5 games, he has resumed the Trae Young of old. Once again, he has put up huge numbers in their win against the Spurs on Thursday night. He once again blasted over the 40 mark. Trae Young had a Trae Young-like 40 plus points and, more importantly, 14 assists. So this is the thing that really, if you look at Trae, this is what he did in his All-Star game seasons. He was a scoring and dish and swish man. And what I mean by that, so he kind of reminds me of a guy. And for you young cats, you have to look this up. Look up Nate Archibald. Nate Archibald was one of the, I think, the only man to lead the league in scoring and assists. Now, obviously, Trae won't lead the league in scoring this year at all. But if you look at his numbers, again, it's rounding back into the Trae that we saw once before. First of all, the big thing is he has been shooting much better. He has been shooting much better. Against the Spurs, 52% from the floor. Now, he's still having some problems with three-point range. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened with Trae in his three-pointers. Only 2 from 9 from three-point range, but his inside game, the layups, the scoops, that little scoop shot he does, that is coming back into form. And for me, like I said, I hope the guy gets his three-point shooting range back, but the idea that he's able to take guys off the dribble into the paint and score consistently, that's what we're looking for. Another thing is that, and hopefully we won't have to protest too much, but he's going back to the foul line. And why? Because once again, he's penetrating into the lane and picking up a lot of fouls. In the game against San Antonio, again, textbook Trae Young, 13 of 16 from the line. So he has 16 shots from the foul line. 81%. His shooting percentage from the free throw lanes have been a little off. But like I said, again, overall, a good game. The thing that also was critical with San Antonio, it was the return of DeJounte Murray. Murray had been in a little bit of slump the last 4 or 5 games. He's had a couple of miserable games in against San Antonio. He was back. As you expect, San Antonio was a team he played for before he was traded to the Hawks. 10 of 21 from the floor, 2 of 4 from three-point range, 2 from the line, 24 points for DeJounte Murray, and that coupled along with 2 assists. So the dynamic duo looked like the dynamic duo. 69 points. So they scored more than half of the Hawks' points against the Spurs. So that's all good news. As the record now evens up at 9-9, and they head on to the Bucks, who they have traditionally been able to hold their own against. Now, what are the negatives, you might say? Number one, it's up and down. That's the first thing. They can't seem to go on any type of winning streak. Number two, I'm not sure what's going on. I think I have the answer, but defensively, they are terrible. One of the worst teams in the NBA in terms of defense. Number three, another thing that's going to be a bit of a problem for the Hawks is a guy who I thought was coming into his own and maybe a future all-star if he's able to recover fully from his injury. Jalen Johnson, giving us the type of play that we saw from John Collins early in his career. Plays above the rim, a lot of energy, probably a little bit better defender than John, but now he's out for 4 to 6 weeks. He's out. So those three things kind of cast a pall over what the Hawks have been doing offensively. And they're going to have to find a way to short it up. Now, Sadiq Bey has been pretty good off the bench, picking up those minutes from him, 13 points in their win against the Spurs. He is probably the best three-point shooter that the Hawks have right now. He was 3 of 4 in the San Antonio game. But the Hawks are going to have to find a way to shore up their defense. They're also going to have to find a way to play, to do a lot bit better on the boards, because that's one place they've been very, very suspect. So, again, look at the Hawks. It's kind of glass half full, glass half empty. Top 5 in the NBA in scoring. They're scoring about 127 points a game. We're also in the bottom 5 in the NBA in defense. Number 2, Trae Young coming back to form. DeJounte Murray coming back to form. But I think that at some point before the trade deadline, the Hawks are going to have to get another big man defender. They need a rim protector to assist Clint Capella, because Clint Capella, although he does a good job, great rebounder, good finisher on the inside, and decent in terms of blocks, but he's not a 7-footer. He's not a guy that can really be, like I said, a true rim protector down low. He's not a guy that is going to scare you if you're an offensive player. So I think at some point, even the Hawks have said for years, oh, no, we're happy with the personnel we got. We don't need any more bigs. There's no question that they do. If they're going to really get to be a team that can consistently win in the NBA, a team that can challenge for an NBA title, they're going to have to get bigger. And the other thing I think they need is a guy that can give a little. Now, you say, Minister, you violence? No. What I'm saying is that the NBA, especially down in the paint, you need a guy that's kind of a enforcer, if you know what I mean. Somebody that can kind of lay the wood, some guy that has some muscle and some beef to bang against some of the bigger players, like the Joel Embiids of the world. You know, like Joker out in Denver, like what you see in LA. I'm drawing a blank right now. But all these teams have big men and that can bang, if not from the center position, even at the power forward position. Even look like a guy like Draymond Green. The Hawks don't have that kind of physical type player that can really, I don't want to say strike fear, but a guy that can give you the muscle and give you the inside presence that you need in order to win physical games, win defensively. I don't care if the guy scores too much. I just need a guy that can be a better defender of the basketball. So that's what I'm saying. At some point, I think the Hawks before the break are going to have to do it. I really don't have a lot of fault with Trae Young right now. The guy's doing everything we pretty much have asked him for. We can say sometimes he's a ball hog, but what can you say when the guy's got 14 assists? And keep in mind, if you watch, here's the thing that I had to do. I used to blame Trae Young a lot. Oh my gosh, because I compare him to Luka Doncic, and Luka Doncic has tremendous stats. He's one of the top 3 in scoring and in assists. And this was a guy that basically was traded so that he could go to the Mavericks and Trae could come here. But the realities are, if I'm really honest, especially now again that Trae has regained his shooting touch, if you look at a lot of Hawks games, because oftentimes some of the guys he passed the ball to don't hit their shots, he would probably have even more assists. And now you look at his value will be completely different. This is a guy, everybody says we want to trade him, the team plays better without him. Here's reality. You have to be very careful when you're trying to trade someone who is averaging 25 points and 10 plus assists year in and year out, because those don't go on trees. And if you say, okay, we got DeJounte Murray here as another point guard option, that's true, you do. But the question is, why would you do that unless you're getting a all-star type big man in return? Now, if you're going to get that, I would consider doing that. Otherwise, it's a bad trade. You can't trade for picks because the NBA is not like the NFL. If you really don't have a lottery pick, those guys are really not going to make a big impact on your team. So at the end of the day, I think that Trae Young is not necessarily the problem. I think that this team needs bigs. That's it. I mean, Okongwu is great. Guy jumps out of the building. Clint Capella, one of the best rebounders in the league. I'm not taking nothing away from those guys. But at the end of the day, the Falcons are going to have to get, the Hawks are going to have to get bigger if they have any opportunity or chance to really win consistently in the NBA. Like I said, they might have these, like you had a couple of years ago, I think no one really expected them to win because it was kind of fluky. But now everybody's hip to them. So now they're going to have to find a way to get to that next level and get back to being a team that contends consistently for an NBA title. All right, guys, we ask you to keep it locked right here. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more of the Real Talk Sports Show in just a minute. Don't go anywhere, please, and thank you.
Did you know that Allen Vigil Ford in Morrow, Georgia also has Lincoln? Over 35 years of using the Vigil Touch to provide excellent customer service, works hand in hand with the Lincoln Motor Company to provide a luxurious and seamless way to acquire your next luxury vehicle. Lincoln has an array of full-service complimentary owner benefits. These benefits include hospitality partnerships, service pickup and delivery, all which can be accessed through the Lincoln Way app. You can even contact the 24/7 concierge to have someone assist you. Come and see our great inventory of new and pre-owned Lincolns today. Call 678-364-7345 to To make an appointment with one of our brand champions or shop 24/7 online at allenvigillincoln.net.
Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm Aria, the first AI presenter for Real Talk Sports. We want to get your feedback about my participations in the show, so please leave comments. So stay tuned, the Real Talk Sports Show is coming up.
We're back. Again, you are watching and listening to the Real Talk Sports Show. If you're listening, I know that means you're locked into the legendary WIGO Pacesetter 1570 AM on your dial. Now, here's the cool thing. You also can find them online at WIGO1570.com. And last but not least, you said, Minister, I'm on the move. No worries. You can download the free TuneIn app. It's called TuneIn. It's a free app. Download it. Put in WIGO 1570 in the search engine, and voila, you'll find us broadcasting to you right here, right now. If you're at home chilling and you want to watch on the big screen, if you have Roku, go to Tiki Live. Put in Phoenix Entertainment Group in the search engine, and my good buddy, Mr. Gary Booker, allows us to broadcast on the Roku channel, so you can watch us on the big screen. Hopefully my head's not too big. I hope not. All right, let's go take a peek and see. We got some comments at social media as we shift to talk about championship weekend. Sean Jarrett says, hi. Sean, what's up? Appreciate you, man. Please, folks, the other time I ask you, share the broadcast. Share the broadcast. Let people know what's going on here. We do what I like to call a clean cut sports show. It is the moniker for our show is sports from a different perspective. So we are going to talk about sports, but we're going to keep it clean. We're trying not to insult anybody unless you deserve to be insulted. I'm just saying. And we tried to set it up so that, not we tried, but we set it up so that you, the listener, you, the people who are tuned into the broadcast, can actually get your comments in. So even if you're listening to us on WIGO 1570, go on to the Facebook page of WIGO. Actually, better yet, go to the Real Talk Sports page, and you actually can put your comments in. If I see them, I'll put them up on the air and read them. And the people on WIGO can hear them, and you can be a part of the broadcast. So don't be shy. Give us your comments, and we would love to respond to you. But again, share the show and let other people know what's happening on the Real Talk Sports Show. All right, it is championship weekend here it is championship weekend here in everywhere around the country, and most of all, right here in Atlanta, we host the SEC Championships, and the SEC Championship, without a doubt, every year the winner goes to the college football playoffs to contend for the national title, and this year will be no different unless Alabama wins, and there's a good possibility if Alabama wins that they would be boxed out if the Texas Longhorns win the Big 12 championship against Oklahoma State, and that's pretty much a good possibility that's going to happen. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, okay, how could you let an Alabama team who knocked off the #1 team in the country not go to the college football championship? Or vice versa. How could you leave a Georgia team who had been undefeated, who's the 2-time defending national titleist, have them not go because they lost their SEC championship? Because we've seen it before. Alabama went a couple of years ago. They did not win the SEC title. We know that Ohio State a few years ago did not win the Big Ten title. And Ohio State went on to win the national championship. So there is some precedent for teams to go, although they did not win their conference title, or they had one loss. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And it will be, like I said, a real challenge for the college football playoff committee if, in fact, Alabama wins. Let's go to Sean Jarrett here on social media. He says, do you think Collins will be traded from the Hawks? Yeah, well, you mean if he be traded back to the Hawks, because John Collins is gone. He was traded to Utah before the beginning of the season, and actually he's been doing quite well. He's been doing John Collins things, averaging about 15 points and about 9 rebounds a game. But he is in Utah already. But, the world is funny. He might be back because he is a guy that's much beloved here. His play after he was caught up with the performance-enhancing drugs, he kind of was really never the same after that. But anyway, we wish him well. Great guy, great interview, Always a guy that was easy to work with the press and never stepped back, whether he was playing well, the team was playing well or not. So we always appreciate a guy like that. He's willing to take time out with us to be able to share as we try to do our thing. All right, let's talk college football. There's no question the Georgia Bulldogs are the cream of the crop. Ranked number one in the nation, have been in the top four all year, have dipped no further, I think, than three, and rightfully so, two-time defending champions. Now, here's the situation with the Bulldogs, which makes everything a little dicey. Number one, they got to beat the Alabama Crimson Tide, who's coached by the guy who many consider up to this point the greatest college football coach in history, which is Nick Saban. You have a Nick Saban that basically birthed what we see here in Georgia, because Kirby Smart was a longtime defensive coordinator at the University of Alabama and helped them win multiple national championships when he was there with Nick Saban. And now he's taken the Nick Saban formula, thrown in a huge dose of some smartisms, and has now elevated himself to be considered one of the top college football coaches. And if he wins this year, will certainly go down in history as one of the all-time greats, because we have won not two, but three national titles in a row, and that's the rarest of rare. Let's go back to social media. Sean said, do you think the Georgia Bulldogs can win it again all this year? There's no question. The big thing they're going to run into is what any great team often comes up against on their quest to win championships. Any team runs into this, which is health. And right now, the Bulldogs are banged up. They boast probably one of the best college football players in the nation, with their tight end Brock Bowers. He's banged up. He may or may not play in the SEC championship game. That's going to be a big problem for the Bulldogs. They also have a couple of other star players that are out as well. I'm going to try to get that up for you really quickly for you right here so we can talk a little bit about that. But let's take a look at the injury list here as we go take a look right now. And this is what they're saying for the injury list here before the SEC championship. Let's get this up before SEC championship, because that's going to be, like I said, again, a big key to whether Georgia can pull this victory off against Alabama and be able to continue on and, contend for a national title. Here's the guys that are injured right now. Ladd McConkey, a guy that many Georgia fans know, clutch wide receiver. Robert Thomas, Brock Bowers, and Tate Rutledge are all possibly being a no-go for this Saturday. So this is going to be something that we're all going to have to keep our eye on to see what's going to go on. Again, that list of players that may or may not be able to play: Ladd McConkey, Rod Thomas, Brock Bowers, Tate Ratledge. They all did not play in the Georgia Tech game, and there's a possibility they may not play against the Crimson Tide of Alabama. If that being the case, it's going to make it a tough road for the Bulldogs. Now, fortunately, the Bulldogs boast a very, very strong running game. They also, you have seen this year with Carson Beck, he has really followed in the footsteps of previous Georgia quarterbacks, where he's been able to manage this powerhouse team that Kirby Smart has put together. So it's going to be an opportunity for Carson Beck to show up and show out, because the Bulldogs have to rely heavily on him and his passing game, and more importantly, his acumen in terms of running Bobo's system offensively, because Alabama in the second half of the season has looked more like the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, Auburn game you throw out, because that game, anything can happen, in these rivalry games. And we know that in games that have been played in Jordan here before, there's some smarky things that happen. It happened to the Bulldogs a few years ago. Last second play, and Auburn pulled out a victory. So what am I saying? I still think that Georgia is a rightful favorite to win this game. And I still think that they are rightful favorite to win the national title. But it is going to be, they're going to have all guys on deck to make this happen. There's no question about it. There's going to have to be next man up. And like I say, Carson Beck is going to have to play big, which he's played very, very well. And the running game, which we saw with Milton against Georgia Tech, racking up over 150 yards, that's going to be really the key. Can the University of Georgia run the ball successfully against Alabama? And defensively, Are they going to be able to stop Jalen Milroe, who, again, in the second half has become a real dual threat QB? And he will going to attack two areas which the Bulldog defense is kind of somewhat weak. The ability to defend a mobile quarterback, and on the other hand, the big thing, to be able to defend against the big down the field plays. The Bulldogs, in the few games that have been close, that has been their weak spot. And Milroe throws, all the pundits say, he throws one of the best deep balls in college football. Great touch on the ball, great accuracy, and he has a big-time cannon for an arm. So Georgia is going to have to really do two things. They're going to have to contain Milroe and keep him in that pocket, prevent him from hurting him on the ground. And then, most of all, they're going to have to defend against the deep ball off that play action fake, or after him making scramble plays. That's the other thing where you can get hurt when you're defending against a running quarterback. They're able to extend plays and able to create gaps in your defensive backfield where a guy can get open and they can hit home run plays. So that's going to be really it for Georgia. Are they going to be able to run the ball and control that clock with Milton and some of the other guys? And can Carson Beck stay away from turnovers? Don't give Alabama a short field. And that's going to be the key for the Bulldogs to win. Around the other, in college football, it's going to be a shootout. Oregon and Washington, two teams that really are almost like flip a coin. You know, Washington and Oregon both boasting great running backs. Bo Nix over at Oregon. I'm drawing a blank right now, the young man over in Washington. Both of these guys are Heisman Trophy candidates. And so that's going to be a shootout there. Michigan against Iowa, that's going to be kind of a laugher. Or maybe not. Iowa had boasting one of the best defenses in the country, really one of the best defenses since Georgia a couple of years ago. These guys don't give up points at all, but look for Michigan kind of take them down with their running attack. Let's go back to social media. Sean said if Georgia makes a championship game, who would be the team that would upset them? Any of these teams. And once you get in that Final Four, now I know last year they blew the brakes off of TCU, but TCU was kind of the outlier. You know, it was a situation where they probably shouldn't have beat Michigan. Michigan gave them that game. The Michigan quarterback threw 2 pick sixes. They had, I think, another big turnover late in the game. So you can't turn the ball over like that. And still they lost the game by a point or two. So, you know, TCU probably shouldn't have been there. No disrespect to them. And because they gave everything they had to get by Michigan, they had nothing left for the Bulldogs. And that's why they got the brakes beat off them so badly in the championship game. But, yeah. Bulldogs, again, key for them against Alabama. Run the ball, keep Milroe contained, and don't let Milroe hurt them with the deep ball. Those are going to be the keys for a Bulldog victory, if I can speak English. And around the country, like I said, again, Oregon and Washington, a shootout. It's going to be a battle of the QBs. Florida State, their big thing is they now are looking at a third-string quarterback to try to lead them to victory over Louisville. But they got a lot to play for. You know, Florida State Seminoles were legendary under the late, great Bobby Bowden. The guy I had a chance to interview a couple of times, one of the greatest college coaches in college football history, had a 30, 40-year reign of excellence. But Florida State's back now. And I think that these players, to a man, are tired of them being chumped off as a team. Oh, this is going to be the first team to be thrown out. They shouldn't be in the Final Four. So I think they're going to have their A game, even with their third-string quarterback. And obviously, if they're able to win against Louisville, third-string quarterback, undefeated for the season, they're in. Yeah, I don't care what you say. There's no way you're going to try to put an Alabama team with one loss if they beat Georgia ahead of Florida State. Yeah, that's a no-no. So that's it, guys. That's our quick little college football wrap-up. Again, it's Championship Saturday. I know all you guys are going to be watching all game long. And we appreciate you for watching us and listening to us right now. We're going to take our final break of the day. You're listening to the Saturday Sports Update right here on number one, the legendary WIGO 1570 AM on your dial, and also on Facebook, YouTube, and even on Twitch. We'll be back with more of the Real Talk Sports Show in just a moment.
Did you know that Allen Vigil Ford in Morrow, Georgia also has Lincoln? Over 35 years of using the Vigil Touch to provide excellent customer service, works hand in hand with the Lincoln Motor Company to provide a luxurious and seamless way to acquire your next luxury vehicle. Lincoln has an array of full-service complimentary owner benefits. These benefits include hospitality partnerships, service pickup and delivery, all which can be accessed through the Lincoln Way app. You can even contact the 24/7 concierge to have someone assist you. Come and see our great inventory of new and pre-owned Lincolns today. Call 678-364-7345 to make an appointment with one of our brand champions or shop 24/7 online at allenvisuallincoln.net.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. You grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
Coming up next, it's the Real Talk Sports Show, bringing you great sports talk with perspective. Now, here's our host, Jonathan Simmons.
All right, guys, we're back here for the final segment of the Real Talk Sports Show. Appreciate all those of you who are listening to us on the legendary WIGO, pace setter 1570 on the dial. Those of you watching us on the big screen on Roku, Tiki Live, going to Tiki Live and put in the Phoenix Entertainment Group, and we will be able to be seen on your big screen TV at the house. And, of course, those of you gamers watching us on Twitch, appreciate you, and also on YouTube and Facebook Live as well. We close out here with some NFL football. We're based in Atlanta, so it's all about the Atlanta Falcons. But before we do that, we want to give a shout out to all you Eagles fans out there. The Philadelphia Eagles are now becoming must-see TV. The other night, they brought their game on, I believe, to replace the New England Patriots. It's unbelievable. This team that has terrorized the NFL for the last 20 years has fallen on hard times since TB12 has left the building. It now begins to bring some doubt on how good of a coach that Bill Belichick really was at the end of the day. Because since Tom Brady has left, the Patriots have been a non-factor in the NFL. And the Patriot way has fallen on deaf ears with most of the new recruits and new players they brought in. He's not been able to seem to find the same magic and the same cohesion that he had when TB12 was in the building for 20 years. So now, although I knew the NFL 100 put him down as one of the greatest coaches of all time, and you still have to, even if you have a great player, you still have to find a way to win. At the end of the day, Bill Belichick, the shine is gone off the car, and he might be asked to leave the Patriots sometime in the next year or two. So, how the mighty have fallen. But on the other hand, the Philadelphia Eagles, with a guy that many people dismissed as being an okay quarterback, a lot of people even till today say he's not elite. Jalen Hurts has continued, along with that stout Philadelphia defense, to continue to run roughshod over the rest of the NFL as the Eagles now find themselves once again at the top of the heap in the NFC. No disrespect to the 49ers who've given them a run for their money. But at the end of the day, the Eagles are must-see TV. Their games have been the most watched games on television on their last 4 games. So shout out to the Eagles. The Eagles are balling out, doing what they need to do. Jalen Hurts has had a up and down season. A big shout out to him. Now, I heard something kind of odd to me the other day, is that after the Philadelphia Eagle game, of all people, Aaron Rodgers gave him a big shout out. And Rodgers says that he feels over the last 3 weeks that Dak Prescott from the Cowboys has been playing the best football as a quarterback in the NFL. And some people are saying he now should be in the conversation for MVP. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Dak Prescott. He's a guy who's gone through a lot of things. He's a guy that is a believer, just like Jalen Hurts is. He's a guy that has given back to the community in great ways. And he's had his own personal battles he's overcome in order to get out here and continue to play football in the National Football League, which is hard enough in itself. But, I mean, MVP conversation, a Dallas team that basically struggles to beat teams with a winning record, a Dallas team that has one of the dominant defenses currently in the NFL, Dak Prescott, a guy that I've seen throwing balls all over the place. I'm just saying, I'm not quite sure if I can agree with that. But Cowboys are always going to be must-see TV. Big shout out to the Eagles, 49ers. Christian McCaffrey leads the NFL. He's on pace to possibly have a 2,000-yard season, which makes you wonder what on earth was David Topper and the guys at Carolina doing when they made two huge dumb moves. Number one, trading away Christian McCaffrey, a guy who, before he got injured, certainly, and now back again, one of the best all-around running backs in the NFL. And number two, setting up a team that not only don't have Christian McCaffrey, but basically don't have a real solid team, and bringing in a number one pick from Alabama, where the young man is physically not the biggest guy in the world. When you talk about Bryce, he's not that big. You bring in Bryce Young, you don't bring in C.J. Stroud, who's balling out, having one of the best rookie campaigns for a quarterback in NFL history, a guy who was bigger, taller, and a guy who I think could have been better suited to handle the rigors of a poor Carolina team than Bryce Young. But all that being said, at the end of the day, they are floundering, and the 49ers have been able to be blessed as well as the Texans with the miscues that went on with Carolina. But how about right back here in Atlanta? The Atlanta Falcons, believe it or not, boys and girls, are not in second, not in third, but they're in first place in the NFC South. And you might say, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Because in the NFL, if you can win your division, I don't care if you're under 500, you will be able to go to the playoffs. And once you get in the playoffs, that's right, playoffs. That's right. Falcons are in line if they could even play 500 the rest of the season. If they could just go 4-3. So I think they have 7 games remaining, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go do my math. They're 5-6. They have 6 games remaining. So if they could even go 3-3, 8-9 would probably win them the NFC South and get them, check this out, not only into the playoffs, but a home game in the first round. That's right. The Atlanta Falcons. Let's go to social media. Let's go back to Sean. He says here, is Ridder the quarterback of the future? Well, here's the thing about Ridder. Talking about the Falcons. So Desmond Ridder is a guy that has shown flashes of brilliance. And he's made some throws in games that they've won that have really been stellar. You look last week, he had some wonderful threaded needle throws. And that throw he threw to Bijan Robinson for a touchdown, where he was under a full-blown blitz and just with a flick of the wrist, floated the ball and got it right up over the linebacker and dropped that thing into a bucket into the hands of Bijan Robinson for the touchdown. That's a big-time quarterback play. So there's no question we see he has the talent to do it. And if we look back again, when he was the field general and playing with absolute confidence in Cincinnati, he was a guy that was able to compete and bring Cincinnati, kind of a quasi-Power 5 school, to the CF College Football Championships, and was undefeated at home for his tenure there. So the guy has the chops to do it. The question is Arthur Smith going to continue to make an offense that goes around his talent? And number two, can the young man get away from the very thing I thought would make him a great NFL quarterback? If he could stop turning the ball over. I mean, I know when you're a young quarterback, these things happen. People go back and say Peyton Manning led the league in interceptions, but this is a different situation. This is a situation where this Falcons team is a good enough team to be a playoff team. He has at least one, if not potentially 2 all-pros in the backfield with him. He's got rookie Bijan Robinson, who's in the top 10 in the league in rushing. He has over 700 yards rushing. He has probably another 300-400 in receiving, so he's already at over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. You have Tyler Algiers, who last year had over 1,000-yard rushing. And you have Cordell Patterson, who's probably one of the best all-around players from that running back position in the NFL, because he can do anything. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He can be a power runner. He can be a speed guy off the edge. So he's got the weapons. Oh, and last but not least, he's got Drake London, who is one of the better wide receivers in the NFL in terms of making the jump ball and tough catches. And although he's, I think, not 100% this year, Kyle Pitts, a guy who can hurt you at the tight end position, and some of the other guys they brought in as well. So this Falcon team has the offensive weapons that he really shouldn't be able to turn the ball over this much. The big key is going to be, is Arthur Smith going to set it up and put him in position not to fail going forward? And is Desmond Ridder not going to be overconfident and sloppy with the ball in the red zone? That's going to be the key for this Falcons team going forward. If they don't turn the ball over, especially in the red zone, the other team, there's a Falcon team, I'm telling you, that can go in the playoffs and can fluke and get a win or two. The question is from Sean, if Arthur Smith of the Falcons does not make the playoff, will he get fired? No. I'm not going to say unfortunately, but it's not going to happen because he has been committed to by the owner. And so I think if they get in and somehow don't get to the playoffs, Arthur Blank has said he's not going to fire him. I don't know. That's what he says. But at the end of the day, I will tell you this. It's going to be tough because it is going to be a lot of howling and screaming from the fans to fire him if this team doesn't make the playoffs, because this team really should, like I said, not only should they make the playoffs, but they should be able to even win a game because they have a home game. Now, here's the thing. If the playoffs stop right now, they have to play the Dallas Cowboys, which will be a tough out. But anything's possible. The Cowboys haven't looked that good in postseason. I'm just saying. They haven't. They have not. And here's the thing. This Falcons team, I know you're going to say, brother, what are you talking about? This Falcons team, if they can somehow get to the playoffs, this team has the potential to do what the Seattle Seahawks did about a decade ago. If you look, the Seattle Seahawks had a situation where they were in the same spot. They won the NFC West in a down year. They were under 500. And they were relying heavily on a running back by the name of Marshawn Lynch. In that year, they were 7-9, and they somehow snuck their way into the playoffs. Well, for those of you who are not historians, you know what happened next. There's a legendary run by Marshawn Lynch. We bounced off of a bunch of Saints players, and they upset the Saints, who came in there as the wild card from the NFC South. And guess what happened? After that, the Seattle Seahawks, after that 7-9 season in 2011, ran off the next 5 years with seasons like this: 11-5, 13-3, 12-4, 10-6, 10-5. They went to the playoffs all those years. And oh, by the way, went to the Super Bowl twice. And oh, by the way, won one and lost one on a fluke where the right call was not made. So what I'm telling you is the Falcons somehow can win this game, go on to the playoffs, and somehow maybe sneak out a win, they could go on the same type of run because they have the personnel to do it. All right, for those of you who are listening to us on WIGO 1570, we know we have to wrap it up because we have another show coming right behind us. We want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Please keep it locked right here on the legendary WIGO Pace at 1570 AM. And remember, if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, your personal Savior, please, man, please, sir, get to know him today. Nobody loves you like Jesus. He died for you, but he rose from the dead. So if you repent of your sins and believe in that, two great things happen. Number one, you become a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. Number two, you become an adopted child of God. And number three, you get to go to heaven when you die and not go to hell. I don't know about you, but I like option number one instead of option number two. All right, guys, again, thank you so much for joining us. Remember, follow us anywhere on social media at Real Talk Sports and number 7. Until the next time we get back together again, you know how we do it. God bless you and have a wonderful rest of your day. So long and take care. See ya.